Hello everyone, welcome to the CloudLearn AWS Zero to Hero series. This is a day 14 video. In this video, instead of going to the next topic, we are going to perform a project. In the last video, we have seen how to host a static website using S3 bucket, right? That's for learning purpose. But in the real time, how that website can be hosted using different services together. But here we haven't covered all the services required to do this project. But in the next coming videos, we have a detailed session on each and every topic, each and every service, what we are going to cover in this project. But to understand this project better, I will give an overview about each and every service, what we are about to use in this particular project. So what is the project we are going to perform here? So I can say host a static website, host a static website for production uses, for the production use. What is the meaning of a production use? The website is live and the real users will access that particular website. For that, what I'm going to use is, what are the things? The website must be secure, must have a secure access, means HTTPS, not the HTTP, right? Means how you can host all the things. I will explain like how we can host a HTTPS and all. If you recollect, yesterday, whatever the website we hosted, that is not running on a secure protocol. It is just a plain HTTP. Means whatever the data is getting transferred is not secure. The data will be transmitted in a plain text format. It must be secure. First thing. The second thing, website must have a high performance. It must have a high performance. What is the meaning of a performance? Irrespective of the user location, whether the user is from US or whether the user is from India, anywhere across the globe, the users must access the website within minimum time, means with very less latency. And website must have a name which represent company, your company, like AWS classes.in or the cloudlearn.com and all. The reason why I'm not using the cloudlearn.com domain, already there is some basic website is running. I don't want to disturb that. So I have another domain name. I have another domain name which we can use to set up this project. Okay, so these are the basic things we must have: performance, security, and a user-friendly domain name. If your website is having a name called af32467.com, nobody can remember, right? It must have a simple name which represent your organization, which represent your organization. For that reason, we must have this particular AWS classes.in domain name. For this, what are the services we are going to use to implement this particular project? What are the services we are about to use? The first one is simple storage service, which is S3. Why? We can host a static website without creating any servers and all. But the problem is we can host the website without a security. Without a security means just a HTTP website. To implement the security like HTTPS, right? We must have a domain name. This is called as a domain name. So where we can get the domain name, you can register the domain name using a domain registrar. Using a domain registrar. On AWS, we have a domain registrar called Route53. but already I registered this particular domain name using a third-party domain registrar, which is GoDaddy. Then, whenever the user types AWS classes.in, the request should go to your website, right? Means there must be some connection that is called as a record. For that, we must have a DNS service, domain naming system service. It's like a phone book in your mobile phone. What is the use of the phone book? Whenever you type your friend's name, automatically it will show the number, right? The same way in the DNS, whenever we type AWS classes.in name in your browser, request will go to the DNS. Request will go to the DNS, and in the DNS, it will get the IP address of that particular website or alternate name of that particular website. On AWS, we have a DNS service called a Route53, which means Route53 is a service which offers you the domain registration and as well as DNS service. Then, to run your website using HTTPS protocol, you must have SSL certificate. Yes, SSL certificate. To get that SSL certificate, you must have a registered domain name. You must have a registered domain name. You must be the owner of that particular domain name. So already I registered it. Per year, you have to pay to register a domain name for yourself. And to generate a certificate, we have a service called ACM, Amazon Certificate Manager. Amazon Certificate Manager, ACM. And then to run the website, to configure these SSL certificates, to maintain the high performance with low latency and all, we are having a service called CloudFront. These are the four different services which we are going to use to implement this particular project. Let me give you how it works. So here, this is the AWS Certificate Manager. This is the AWS Certificate Manager in which we will get an SSL certificate, in which we can get SSL certificate. How we need to send a request that I need a certificate for AWS classes.in website. Then the AWS Certificate Manager will validate that you are the owner or not. You are the owner or not. How? By creating a record in your DNS. And I'm going to use a DNS called Amazon Route 53 service. So already I am the owner of AWS classes.in website, right? So here, this is a DNS service. Here, I will create one hosted zone. This is a chargeable. Just remember, per month, you will be charged $1 for the hosted zone. What is the hosted zone? It contains the information about your domain name. So here, we need to create one record. What is the record? That will be displayed while you are generating a request to get your SSL certificate. So you have to create the exact record, but both are in the same AWS account. So automatically it will be created. The record will be created. Then the SSL certificate will be generated. So we got the SSL certificate, and then you need to create one S3 bucket. And one rule is the bucket name must match your domain name. Your website name must be matched with the S3 bucket. Why? To enable static website hosting with the help of a CloudFront. What is this CloudFront? This CloudFront is a service which can be used to improve the performance of your web applications. So whatever the website you hosted, so here we will configure HTTPS. So whoever try to access your website without HTTPS, automatically it will be redirected to the HTTPS. Means all the communication will be secure way. Up to here, okay. Then how the performance will be improved is a copy of your website will be cached, a temporary storage, kind of a cache in your mobile, in your browsers, right? So that The website will be cached across the edge locations. Across the globe, we have like 600 plus edge locations. Let us say this bucket is in US. If a user from India is trying to access the website, the latency will be high and it will take a lot of time to load the web page. But with the help of a CloudFront, the copy of your website will be cached. Caching means temporary storage. Temporarily, it will be stored across all the edge locations so that whenever a user try to access the website will be loaded from the nearest edge location. These edge locations are placed across the major cities across the globe. So whenever the user opens his browser and types the website name like awsclasses.in, first the request will go to the Amazon Route 53, which is the DNS. Then it will check where is that particular website running. So that particular response, the address will be sent to the user and he will be able to connect to the nearest edge location and the web page will be loaded. That's how the performance will be improved with the help of a CloudFront. Okay, right. First, let me write down the steps, what all we are going to do. Then we can do the practical. First thing, let us start with Route 53. Create a hosted zone in Route of 53 for the domain AWS classes.in. But my AWS classes.in website is registered in a third party registrar, not in the AWS. For that reason, what I have to do is update the name servers in GoDaddy domain registrar with the values of Route 53 hosted zone. Again, if you registered the domain name within the AWS Route 53, then this is not required. But why I am using this? Because I register my domain name in a third-party domain registrar. That's why I have to update the name server. What is the meaning of a name server? If someone is trying to access AWS classes.in my case, the request will go to GoDaddy because my website name is registered the GoDaddy. And what this name servers will do, it will say that information about this particular domain name is available in so and so AWS servers. Just we are redirecting the request from GoDaddy to Route 53. Okay, right. Once it is done, what we do is generate SSL certificate for AWS classes.in. Means I am the owner of this particular domain name. So for that, we have to prove your identity that you are the owner of that particular website. If you are not the owner, you can't generate it. Then create S3 bucket and enable static website hosting. Before doing all these things, you can download a sample website like the previous video. Create S3 bucket and enable static website hosting. Then create CloudFront distribution to point to point to the S3 bucket enabled static website. Then finally create a record. It has to be alias. Create a record in Route 53 to forward all the traffic of AWS classes.in to the CloudFront distribution URL. What is the meaning of that? If someone is trying to access AWS classes.in, the request will go to the CloudFront, technically speaking, to the nearest edge location. Because this CloudFront will get the data or your websites from Amazon S3. Just directly, we are simplifying everything. Okay, now let us proceed with these steps. First thing, this one. Okay, so let me log into our Amazon account. Then let me type Route53. So already I have a hosted zone. So on the left side, click on hosted zones. We have a separate session about the Route 53. Just I gave you some brief overview about what is the Route 53. Create hosted zone and the domain name. For which domain you are trying to create the hosted zone, the domain name, and the type must be public hosted zone, and click on create hosted zone. See here, NS means all the information about your domain name, awsclasses.in, should be available in these name servers. Now, what I do is I will log in to my GoDaddy account because this particular AWS classes.in is registered there, and I will update these NS values in the GoDaddy. Okay, so give me a second. Let me log in to the my GoDaddy account first. Give me a second, guys. Let me log in and then just I will share the screen. Generally, you have to go to the DNS option. You have to go to DNS. In the DNS, you can check all options over there. Let me get into the DNS. Okay. See here, AWS classes in DNS. Here I can see an option called name servers. Let me go there. These are the GoDaddy name servers, but I'm maintaining my DNS server in Route 53. So click on change name servers here. I will use my own name servers. Let me copy all these. Okay, no need of last dot. What if you don't have the domain name? I will explain that also. You can skip all these steps. Okay, so let me go to GoDaddy. First value, second value. Again, add name server, third value. Total in 4 servers, the information is getting maintained. Save. Once it got saved, I think I might get some kind of OTP verification and all for security reasons. Okay, it seems without any, it got updated. Okay, that's okay. And done, I can close this one. Right. What is the next step? What is the next step? Generate SSL certificate for AWS classes.in. And remember, always this SSL certificates to be requested in the Northern Virginia region. Your website might be anywhere, but it has to be updated here. Let me show. Just here, let me go to ACM certificate manager, which is Amazon certificate manager or AWS certificate manager, whatever. Go to the certificate manager and make sure that you are in Northern Virginia region. Click on Northern Virginia region. This is for my other website. Okay, click on request. Certificate type, request a public certificate. Next. Fully qualified domain name means the complete name of your website. So I will say AWS classes.in DNS validation. I would like to validate DNS validation to prove that I am the owner. If you choose email validation, you will receive an email to the registered email address of that particular domain name. DNS validation is easy for me. And here, click on request, successfully requested certificate. And what is the status? Pending validation. To prove that you are the owner, what you have to do is, in this case, see here domains, pending validation. What you have to do is you need to create a record in the hosted zone with this name and this value. What I do is, if your DNS is somewhere, you have to go there manually and you have to do all the things. But here, I will click on create records in Route 53 and a CNAME record will be created, create records, and that's it. In the Route 53, one record got created, and within just few minutes, it will be automatically verified and your certificate will be generated. So here you can see the certificate of your AWS classes.in website. Okay. Now what is the next step? S3 bucket. So switch to the S3. And here, remember the bucket name must match with your website name. That's why you can see here, I created in that way. Create bucket, general purpose, bucket name, AWS classes.in. But before that, if I type AWS classes.in, you should get nothing because there is no website running. It is going to a landing page, GoDaddy landing page. Okay. So then ACLs must be enabled because all the data must be publicly accessible. ACLs enabled and this disable block all public access. From here, every step is same as the static website hosting step. In the last video, in the day 13, we have seen it, right? The same way. Okay, so then it got created. Now what I do is I will upload the website. Already I downloaded the web page. I mean, I created some basic HTML thing. You can download or you can write your own thing also. That doesn't matter. So here, this one, it must be uploaded as a public, grant public read access and upload. Then what is the next step? You must enable static website hosting. Static website hosting. How to do that? Go to the properties of the bucket, edit, enable, index document. It's going to be index.html and save changes. Okay, what happened now? Here, your website can be accessible using this name, AWS classes.in .s3 website us east 1 and so on. But no one will prefer or no one will show interest to use this particular name to access the website, right? Means no one will access your website. Let me check whether the website is accessible or not. Yes, but no one will take any interest to go through this particular web page, right? Okay, now for that reason, what we are going to do is we are going to use your service called a CloudFront. So CloudFront Global Content Delivery Network. We have a separate session on this particular topic also. Click on CloudFront. Create a distribution. Origin domain is going to be the, I mean, you have to choose the what we call that uh, bucket name because our website is going to be in the bucket or or already we enabled static website hosting. For that reason, we can use the website endpoint. If you observe, let me copy this. This is nothing but same as our static website hosting URL that you can copy paste. That doesn't give you any error. 80 only because you can't use 443 here. Protocol HTTP. Scroll down to the bottom. Just let me choose this one. Redirect HTTP to HTTPS, which means if someone is trying to access the website with HTTP, automatically they will be redirected to HTTPS. Then keep all options as it is. No need to change anything. In the additional settings, what happened? Just scroll down. Let me go one by one. This is the origin path. This is our actual website name to which our we are pointing the CloudFront distribution, and that is running on HTTP. And this is ignored. No need to enter anything, which is optional. Custom header not required. Keep everything as it is. No, don't change any value here. But this one, viewer protocol policy, select redirect HTTP to HTTPS. Then keep everything as it is. Everything as it is. This web application firewall, I don't want to use at this stage. So I will choose do not enable and keep everything as it is. And alternate domain name means how this website to be accessible. How we are going to access AWS classes.in or or www.awsclasses.in, right? In these two ways, we can access the website. So we must mention the names. And then you have to choose SSL certificate. You have to choose the SSL certificate, but it seems the SSL certificate is not showing here. For that reason, let me go to the ACM, I mean Certificate Manager once in a new tab. Let me check the status once. Okay, it seems it is pending validation. It is pending validation. Okay, what I do is let me go to the Route 53 just to check the records got created or not. If not, let us create manually because it should not take more than 2 minutes or so. Posted Jones. Okay, so it seems the record got created. Let me verify. 9C70.8. Yeah, the record got created, but why it is not yet verified? Okay, its TTL is 300 seconds, means 5 minutes. The changes will be updated within 5 minutes. Okay, so just you have to wait until the status is ready. What happens if you don't verify? You can't get the certificate. You can't get the certificate. You have to wait until the certificate is available. Okay, in the meanwhile, let us go with the other things. So here you have to choose the certificate, ACM certificate. But here we don't have. So I have chosen the different one, but you will get an error. Here you have to choose the AWS classes dot in thing, dot in. AWS classes dot in. It will display in that way, but we don't have. So we have to wait. In the meanwhile, I will explain the other options. Supported HTTP versions, HTTP-2, that is okay. Default root object. What is the default root object? Index.html. Default root object is going to be index.html. When if you choose, if you choose what we call that, uh, the S3 bucket, because it doesn't know what object to be loaded, if the user is trying to access the website name. So you have to mention the default root object name. So before clicking on OK, we have to wait because the certificate is not yet ready. SSL certificate. Without SSL certificate, you can't host a website using HTTPS. Okay, now it is ready, right? Just I clicked on refresh, AWS classes.in, scroll down and click on create a distribution. What happened? The certificate that is attached to your distribution. Okay, this is not valid because we generated the certificate for AWS classes.in. but this is www.awsclasses.in. It doesn't support. If you want to do the certificate to be generated like star.awsclasses.in, but at this stage, I will go in this way, no issues. Create distribution. It will verify that the SSL certificate is valid or not. Now, what happened here? This is the distribution domain name. Let me write down here. This is S3 static website URL, then CloudFront URL, but still it doesn't represent your company's name, right? See here now, HTTPS, but still it doesn't represent your company's name, some random name. Nobody can remember this name. Now, what we have to do, we need to create a record in the Route 53 to forward all traffic like this. Whoever types AWS classes.in in the backend, it will be forwarded to this CloudFront distribution. We will check that. But here, what is the status? Deploy. It will take like 2 to 3 minutes of time. You have to wait. Okay, so if I use that CloudFront domain name, I mean, if I try to access the website using CloudFront, I'm getting an error. Why? The reason is still the CloudFront distribution is getting created. It is in the deployment stage, not yet completely deployed. So we have to wait. So let me click on distribution. So here also you can check deploying. Okay, it will take few minutes, right? In the meanwhile, the final step. What is the final step? You have to go to Route 53 and point your AWS classes.in to the CloudFront distribution. How to do that? I will show you. So go to the hosted zones, this one. What is our domain name? Click on that particular hosted zone of the domain, create record. So how your website to be accessible? AWS classes.in. So I don't mention anything here. Record type, I will choose a record, but I have to select alias and route traffic to, just check for CloudFront distribution here, alias to CloudFront distribution, select that, and in which region it is in Northern Virginia, this is the CloudFront distribution, right? And then click on create records. What happens from now onwards? Whenever a user types AWS classes.in, the traffic will be forwarded to this particular name in the backend. In the backend, the traffic will be forwarded to this one. What it is? It is CloudFront. It is CloudFront. Whenever the traffic reaches this CloudFront distribution, as per our configuration, this CloudFront will send the traffic to the static website hosted on AWS S3. This is how you have to host a website in the real time, but still we have to verify, right, whether it is working or not. How to verify? Just open your favorite browser, type awsclasses.in and just press enter. You should see like this. I will keep this website running for few days so that you guys can check whether the website is accessible or not. The same way. And my actual website called the cloudlearn.com is also hosted in the same way, the cloudlearn.com. The same website I hosted as awsclasses.in. The same concept I used. S3, ACM for SSL certificate, CloudFront distribution for HTTP to HTTPS conversions, and all. Once you are done with your practical, just delete everything, whatever you have created, to avoid unnecessary charges during the learning. But in the real time, we don't delete it, right? We will keep that running. This is how you can host a website in the real time for a production purpose. If you have any questions about this particular project, feel free to reach me in the comment section about and ask your questions over there. I'm happy to help you with your questions. Thank you, everyone.